my colleague. First, I want to recognize the presence of my colleague from the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, and of course, my dearest friend, the press. It's a pleasure having you this morning, and the attendance indicates that, yes, you want to remain professionals. And I want to thank you very much for the commitment. I want to start by saying that there was a circulation in the social media that was not presenting the true and fair picture of the results. For one to have the true and fair picture of the results, you should always have a reference point or a benchmark. Unfortunately, in all the circulations that I have seen and have brought to my attention, there has not been any that was referenced to anything or that was benchmarked to any results. And therefore, we found that really not too accurate, because you should have a benchmark to if you are doing comparison. But I would have loved to be here with you throughout, like I used to do. I usually interact with you. Unfortunately, I just have information that I need to be at the office of the Vice President at 10:30. So I'll leave you at some point. But before that, I think I should interact with you. Let me say that the results that has been published by WAEC came in when there were some outstanding results, which I made clear when I granted interview to West Coast Radio. We had about 1,458 results that were outstanding, when that number of 605 students with 5 credits, including an English language, was presented. There was an outstanding of 1,458 students whose results at the time did not reach or was not presented by WAEC in their analysis. So therefore, you could see that that gap could change the narratives if that is in. It is my pleasure to inform you that this morning, some part of that 1,458 students' results have been sent to us this morning. And certainly, as I indicated in some of the interviews I had in the past week, that has changed the dynamics. As we speak, instead of the 605 students who got 5 credits, including English and Maths, that number has increased to 716 students with 5 credits, including English and Maths. But let me also add that there is still some pending results that we expect to receive from WAEC, just for your information. But that aside, there are students who got 6 credits, who got 7 credits, who got 8 credits, who got 9 credits. Unfortunately, they have not been captured in any of the analysis that has been circulated. Meaning those students have been ignored and they have been considered as failures. And that's an unfortunate thing. Someone could have 7 credits, but never had a credit in English, and that was not captured. Someone can have 8 credits, and unfortunately does not have a credit in Maths, and that is also not captured. So, as a sector, we are cognizant of what we used to have. And what we used to have as a sector is content-based knowledge. Content-based knowledge. What does that mean? The exams that were conducted or the assessment that were given to students were based on just content. And that is the more reason why students sit to exams and only regurgitate what they are taught. But thereafter, they fall short of the competencies that we are looking for. And that is the more reason also that we also give those exams or assessment just to take students to the university. And that was the reason for the compulsory credit English and Maths. But as a sector, it is not in our interest to only concentrate on students that can go to university. There is nowhere in the world where everybody transits to university. It doesn't happen anywhere. And even if it does, are we all going to head to the medical school? Are we all going to head to the engineering school? What happens to the other skills that we need as a country? Development cannot happen with only one set of skills. We have to have diverse sets of skills. That is what we need. We need journalists. We need teachers. We need medical doctors. We need weldermen. We need masons. We need all sets of schools. Where do we get them if our national curriculum, if our educational system focuses its interest only on producing people to the best areas of medical school, engineering, among others? That was what led to the sector embarking on strategic reforms. And these reforms now saw the shift from content-based knowledge to competence-based knowledge. What are we referring to? We want to prepare students, we want to prepare people so that when they come out of the educational system or cycle, they should be able to gain employment either in the public, private, or self area. And that's what led to that competence-based knowledge shift by the ministry. So in doing that, our main focus was and is, instead of having a few people that we want to see all the way to the university, we want to ensure that we have a greater number of people or students passing their exams with competence, with skills, with the knowledge of the know-how, rather than just the content. As soon as they finish writing the exams, they come out with all the A's. You subject them to something after that, they find it difficult to proceed from that point. That's what led to that move. So we decided to also work on reducing the fail rate. And I'm happy to tell you that as far as the sector is concerned, from 2017 to date, I'll give you some percentage statistic. In 2017, we have 21.7% of the students that sat to WAEC exams failing. And I'll define failing here. These are students who scored 9 in all the subjects they sat to. 9. That's what failing in our term means. So in 2017, we had 21.7% of those students who sat to WAEC who failed. And what that translates to also is that these are people who cannot be employed and can also not be trained. Because if you get 9 throughout, that's an indication of unemployability and also untrainability. So we said, no, we cannot continue to have that. What we need to do is to reduce the fail rate so that at some point there will be nobody failing. And that has constantly been maintained. In 2018, from 21.7%, the ministry went all the way to 14.9%. At least a reduction of about 6.5% thereabout. That continued in 2019. Unfortunately, in 2019 it was brought to 9 point, but in 2020 the number went up a bit. And we said, no, we need to look at again how we need to maintain this. And that was the more reason why in 2019, from 11.5 thereabout, in 2019, we brought it to 9.4 in 2021. And in 2021, from that 9.4, we brought it to 6%, only 6% in 2022. So my colleagues, I want to ask you, if you have maintained that steady reduction in fail rate from 21.7% in 2017 to 6% in 2022. Does that suggest that this year's results is the worst results ever? I leave the analysis to you. Shifting from that, as a country, we must decide what we want. I will give you privileged information that this year, by the grace of God, with everything equal, we are hoping to have a mid-policy review. Presently, we are operating a policy of 2016 to 2030. And in that policy, there are a lot of interest areas and goals and objectives that we've set ourselves, not only as a ministry or a sector, but as a country. This year is an opportunity for us to reverse that policy, if we so will, at the midterm review. It's all about quality education. I'll give you a few things that will change the dynamics if we want quality education. One of them is teacher-pupil ratio, meaning how many students should a teacher be exposed to, or should a teacher interact with? Meaning how many students should be in a class. That's one of the parameters that can change the dynamics. The other is the contact hours. How long will the teachers and students interact in a school day? Meaning, what time would the school start and what time would it close in a day? In most of the countries that we often reference, school starts from 8 to 4. In some cases, to 5, or from 8:30 or 9 to 5. We have an option, we have an opportunity. The option is this. If we want that contact time to exist in this country, what we need to do, a must do, is that we have to eliminate the double shift. According to the policy I've quoted, the 2016-2030 policy, we, as a sector, want to eliminate double shift by 2030. That's what we want. But let me give you some statistics for you to understand what it would mean to eliminate that. As we talk today, 2020, August 2022, if we want to eliminate double shift, the students in the lower basic, for us to be able to cater for them without anyone staying out of school, in terms of furniture, in terms of classrooms, it will cost us $1.5 billion in terms of furniture and classroom only, to be able to put the students in from grade 1 to grade 6 in school from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock or to 4 o'clock, so that the contact hours is increased. If we also want to do the same for the upper basic and senior secondary school, it will cost us over $900 million, almost $1 billion, just for the upper basic or basic cycle and the senior secondary schools, if you want to eliminate the double shift. Now, combining the two, you realize that we need an investment of $2.5 billion now, as we speak, now, to be able to eliminate that. But take note, that means we should not build or establish any new school. If we do, it means additional cost. I am saying holding everything constant as it is now. If we should put those children on only one shift from 8 to 4 or 8 to 5, that's what we need to invest today to get them into the schools and classrooms. Even if we have the money today, do we have the space? For example, go to Bundung. We want to put up a school, we are struggling for place. Joshua, the same. Igbo Town, the same. That's the more, Latrikunda, the same. That's the more reason why we are compelled to fall some of the earlier structures that we have to put them upstairs to be able to accommodate students. It should also interest you that the model of the double shift, if we were not having double shift today, we would have had 103,000 plus students in the streets of in the streets of Gambia, if we never had double shift. If we are not operating any double shift today, we will have about 103,000 plus students without any school. Already we all know there are still school-going age children who are in the streets, who are still not in school. This number would have been added to that number that is presently in the streets. Is that our desire as a sector? Is that our desire as a country? These are questions we should all look at. I've only spoke about classrooms and furniture, but let me come to the side of the teachers that will be needed. Remember, the class, once they are increased, you need more teachers. Presently, we have about 24,000 teaching staff across the country, both public and private. But if we need to eliminate the double shift, we will need 3,000 plus teachers today. Meaning if we don't build any other new, but we only operate a single shift 8 to 4, we need additional 3,000 plus teachers in the system to be able to teach those classes that we are going to open. Their salaries, their allowances, and so on and so forth. So what I'm trying to say is, as a sector, we are aware of the plight of the Gambians, and we are very, in fact, happy that we've seen some interest being placed on education, and that is going to help us a long way. But we would have been happier, like my colleague said, that those people who have interest in education engage with the sector so that they have the correct and accurate data to be able to circulate. Remember, information is power. And if you don't send the accurate information or data, you can mislead quite a number. And that is the reason for all these mishaps that we find in the social media. So as a sector, we thought we should ordinarily interface with you so that we share some of these things with you. We wouldn't have spoken or granted interview to anybody prior to this conference. I am sure you'll bear me witness that we usually hold conference once the results are out. But this year it was preceded by the fact that there was a lot of social media warriors, and it did not really give the accurate picture. And that was what prompted some of us to intermittently respond to some of those claims. We are open to the media. We are open to any stakeholder. We are open to development partners. It is in our interest. We will not begin to portion blame. Everyone has a stake in education. It has been our slogan that everybody should be an educator. Everybody should play his part. The teachers have a role to play. The administrators have a role to play. The students have a role to play. The parents have a role to play. The society has a role to play. Are we all playing our roles so that they become complementary to be able to give the students the results that we desire? We should not only be interested in the out product. We should be interested in everything that goes to education, from the beginning to those results when we will be looking at the results. Then in that way, we can see how much of it we have done. In that way, you can hold the administrators of education accountable. And that way, we can also hold ourselves as a society, as a people, accountable and say, yes, how much of my responsibility have I discharged in helping these students pass or fail? So my dear colleagues, I wanted to share some of these things with you so that we can interact and you will ask questions for clarity or for whatever. And like I said, with the results that came in this morning, we have seen numbers jumping from 605 with 5 credits, including English, to 716. And that goes for the 6 credit without English, for the 8 credit without English, 9 credit without English or without maths. If I ask the question here, how many of us credited the 2 subjects, English and maths? And not only us here, how many of us out there credited this? I am not saying it's not important to do it. That's not what we are saying. It is important. But is it the same we have? We are moving from content-based to competence-based as a sector because we want to produce people who would be fit for a labor market, people who will not be liabilities, people who will not be taking on the perilous journey of the back way, people who will not be sitting all day, and all of that. So I want to encourage all of you, and thank you very much.